Welcome to the Quiet Hour. This is a space where we share real experiences, stories that happened, moments that shaped us, reflections carried through time. Here there is no judgment, no right or wrong, just listening to understand, to connect, and to feel a little less alone in this world. Every voice carries a journey. Every story holds a truth. And together, we'll sit quietly and simply listen. So, take a breath, settle in, and let's begin today's episode.
The year was 1985. In a poor coastal village, Thomas, a humble carpenter, set out on his old bicycle, heading to the city for extra work. His only goal was to earn enough for his sick wife's medication. 50 kilometers into the journey, late at night on a deserted hill, he heard a faint cry. He stopped and found a young woman, Lena, injured, feverish, and stripped of her belongings by robbers. Thomas had only a small amount of money, just enough for his wife's vital medicine. It was a moment of intense conflict between duty and compassion, but Thomas's action was decisive. Thomas carefully helped Lena onto his bicycle and turned back towards the nearest town. At the clinic, he paid for her treatment and bought her a warm bowl of porridge using every penny he possessed. The next morning, Lena woke up, realizing the depth of his sacrifice. She was penniless and could only promise to repay him, recording his address. Thomas smiled, shaking his head. He insisted that doing good was its own reward, and that no repayment was necessary. He left his old jacket and the remaining porridge before cycling back towards the city, hungry and empty-handed. His wife had to endure 2 more weeks without proper medication, but Thomas never regretted his decision. He believed saving a life was worth more than any sum of money. The first seed of unconditional kindness had been planted. 3 decades passed. Thomas and his wife grew old, their simple life anchored by their daughter, Holly, a beloved village schoolteacher who shared her father's generous spirit. In 2015, severe challenges arose. A massive storm destroyed part of their old house. Worse still, a few weeks later, Holly was diagnosed with a critical illness requiring immediate, costly surgery, a sum the family could never afford. Thomas and his wife were devastated. They exhausted their meager savings and borrowed from neighbors, but the debt remained insurmountable. Thomas sat defeated before his ruined home. Despite the hardship, he never questioned his past actions. For him, goodwill was a matter of conscience, not calculation. Holly's prior kindness to her students was well known. Many parents and former pupils came forward to help, but the funds gathered were still far from enough. Hope was fading fast. Just when Thomas's family was at their lowest point, a miracle occurred. A luxury car stopped outside their ruined home. Out stepped a successful middle-aged businessman and a gracious woman. The woman, instantly recognizable through her kind eyes, was Lena, the young woman Thomas had saved 30 years ago. Lena's companion was her son, Kevin, the CEO of a successful tech company. Kevin had helped his mother finally track down Thomas using old clinic records and a recent local news piece about Holly's plight. As Lena saw the aging Thomas, memories flooded back. She fell to her knees, embracing him and weeping. "Thomas, it's me, Lena. I've been searching for you for 30 years." Lena quickly explained her success and how she had finally located her benefactor. Without delay, Lena presented Thomas with a file. "Father Thomas, I have taken care of all the surgical costs for Holly. This is the payment for the bowl of porridge, the coat, and the life you saved all those years ago. You must accept it." Kevin bowed respectfully. "We understand your boundless compassion. We humbly share this burden with your family." In that single afternoon, the golden loop closed. The seed of kindness Thomas sowed without expectation had returned in the form of a life-saving blessing for his daughter. It proved that kindness never disappears. It transforms into fortune, patiently awaiting the right moment to return. Following the successful surgery, Holly recovered completely. The family understood the profound life lesson delivered by this act of grace. Years later, Holly's daughter Haley grew up steeped in the story of her great-grandfather's generosity and Lena's reciprocation. Haley understood her life was the result of a chain of goodwill, and her mission was to keep the loop turning. At 22, Haley chose to work as a volunteer for an NGO, building schools and providing clean water in remote mountainous regions. During one mission, Haley encountered a medical emergency. An elderly woman, Grandma Martha, needed urgent, expensive heart surgery. Her family had no means to transport her to the city. The situation was critical. Haley used all her savings, including money Thomas had given her, to cover the emergency transport and the hospital deposit for Grandma Martha. Her action was purely selfless. When asked why she sacrificed so much, Haley smiled with the luminous kindness of her great-grandfather. She said, "My life was saved by a similar act of kindness from my great-grandfather. I am simply repaying the debt of compassion that life granted my family." 2 years later, Haley moved to the capital, struggling to find a major corporate sponsor for her project to build 10 new schools. At a conference, she met Vivian, the sharp and passionate development director of a large corporation. After Haley's presentation, Vivian approached her. "Hello, Haley. I read your proposal and was deeply moved, especially by the story of Grandma Martha," Vivian said, her voice catching. "Grandma Martha is my grandmother. 2 years ago, if a selfless young woman hadn't used all her savings to rush my grandmother to the hospital, we would have lost her. My family searched everywhere for that angel, only knowing her name was Haley, a volunteer." Vivian presented a stack of contracts. "My company will fully fund all 10 school sites. We won't just be a sponsor, we'll be a long-term partner. You don't need to persuade me any further, Haley. You persuaded me with your act of kindness itself." Haley stood silently, watching the second loop complete. Grandma Martha, Vivian's grandmother, had become the new link in the chain. The seeds of Haley's kindness had blossomed into 10 new schools, proving that good deeds always find a path back to their source, completing the eternal loop of mercy and good fortune.